Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Galit Speaks podcast. I'm here with an awesome guest, Michael Fieger, and Michael owns Devil Dog Marketplace, based in West Palm Beach, Florida, is a USMC veteran-owned digital freelance business offering a wide range of services to both veterans and non-veterans alike. Their offerings include logo design, branding, business funding solutions, promotional branded merchandise, social media banner design, graphic t-shirt design, brochure design, and much, much more. The driving force behind Devil Dog Marketplace is Michael Fieger, a creative freelancer specializing in graphic design, website design, SEO, PPC, and video marketing. Michael's military precision focus is on making your brand stand out and send the right message to your current and prospective clients. He is dedicated to helping businesses grow through digital solutions. Together, they pride themselves on delivering services with military precision and are dedicated to helping businesses grow through digital solutions. Thank you so much for being here, Michael.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward to being part of the Galit Speaks.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you because we've now had a couple of conversations and we're part of like some of the same networking groups. And I really wanted to introduce you to people because your demeanor and the things that you care about, they just speak to me. So I wanted to have everybody kind of meet you. And yeah, so happy that you could be here today.
Well, thank you. Anyone that loves sharks, my kind of gal. So,
Yay. All right. So I have some questions. Like you were in the military, right? You are a veteran. And I know that that's something that's super important to you. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and what you're doing to help veterans.
sure. I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. I was a young pup, and I was coming from the streets of Brooklyn, and I was street smart, but I wasn't military smart. So when I went in the military, they shaped me, molded me, and made me realize that I can do anything I put my mind to. And it was a great training ground. It was a great education. I got a chance to travel the world, and so when I was there, I was able to, exceed and develop my skills of the things that they wanted me to do. I was military police, and while I was in there, I was a kid from Brooklyn, and fighting. You either learn to run or you learn to fight. And I was a pretty good runner, but eventually you have to stop running and you have to fight. So I was on the Marine Corps boxing team and things like that. So it all kind of came together, and it was a great place for me to be able to start my career.
Yeah, and I know that you do work with veterans now. Um, you do a weekend mentorship. Can you tell me a little bit about that and why you decided to do that?
Yes. When I got out of the Marine Corps, you go from a team environment to being on your own. And there is a transition, not only emotionally and mentally, but what do I do next? Where do I go from here? So, excuse me. So where do I go from here? So I figured it out for myself, but it took a long time. So what I try to do is make it easier for veterans to either getting out or they're looking for direction. And so I meet with them on the weekends. I find out what they did, what they're doing, and where they want to go. And if I can help them, I give them the tools to do that. If I can't, I teamed up with a nonprofit called Action Zone Inc. They're in Tampa, Florida, and I always refer them there to that organization because they take a veteran with no cost from an idea all the way to running a business. And so I get a chance to give back. And so that's why I do what I do.
And did someone help you? Like, you have your own business. I'm sure like coming out of the military, we see a lot of instances of PTSD, you know, have very difficult times reintegrating into society. Did you take advantage of any resources or anything to help you get to where you are?
Well, when I got out, there weren't the resources that we have today. And so, I when I got out, I went back to my high school and I spoke to my guidance counselor. And, he says, well, best thing for you is to get an education. It still wasn't the direction I wanted, but I figured it was a step in the right direction. So I went off and I started off in a community college just to, because I wasn't really ready for college. So it was a great preparation place. And I got a degree as in the field of law and paralegal. And it's still, wasn't sure if I wanted to do that. So I went on to get a, bachelor's in business. And it was through the education process that I realized that, that I can apply the things they learned. I had a professor. He saw this gung-ho kid, motivated to be in class and always doing his assignments. And he pulled me aside and he says, Michael, be a leader among the elite, not among the herd, because everybody will follow you. Make sure you stick with the people that are going in the right direction. So that advice has always stayed with me. And so you always have people in your life, they come and then they leave. And he was one of those people.
That's amazing. It definitely hurts me to see, especially now, to continue to see that our veterans kind of don't get the attention and the resources and the services that they need, especially considering that they, are on the front lines protecting our liberties and protecting our freedoms. And then they'll come home and not be able to function in society or not be given, the medical help that they need.
Exactly. And today the Veteran Administration is very helpful, helpful to me and helpful to many veterans. So I always tell the veterans I meet is first, stop by the local veterans facility, sign in. There are so many programs now that can really help you socially. It can help you mentally, and then it can also help you find, some direction. And I go there, quite a bit, and I try to take advantage of whatever opportunity it is to make myself better and not bitter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really important. Just the mindset, right? Of this is where I am. How do I grow from here?
Right. And when you come out of the military, you have some really great skills, but you say, wow, how do I apply what I learned, to the civilian world? And there are a lot of transferable skills, but if you don't have someone to mentor you, to show you, you can get lost. And then that's what's happening to veterans. They're kind of just invisible. And so I try to do what I can to prevent that.
That's beautiful. And how did you start your business?
Well, I moved to Florida in 2006, and I got an opportunity to work for a photography studio. And, I was pretty much basically doing marketing, and because I always had a kind of a sales background. And, the owner showed me a few things, digital marketing. He showed me, producing images. And I said, wow, I realized, excuse me, I realized at that time that I was trying to fit into a strategic world, what they call an analytical world. And I really was creative, but I never put two and two together. So once I realized I had this creative spirit,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to run a modeling agency and do fashion shows and, a Miss America pageant judge. I got to really experience working with artists, of hair and makeup and doing the things that a creator, you know, does. And I got a chance to experience that, and it just was another feather to move on to whether I was ready to do my own thing. Now, what happened was I was recognized by an owner of a magazine. It was a Latin magazine. It was called La Portada, and it was a Hispanic magazine that catered to the Hispanic world. And you know, she saw something in me, and she taught me, you know, so much about business. And after about 3 years, she said, you know, you're ready to go out on your own. She believed in me. Her name was Tenchi Salas. She's still a good friend. And I started a public relation company, and I grew it for about 10 years. And then right before COVID hit, I wanted to go into a different direction.
Yeah.
I wanted to be more creative because you wind up being so administrative that you lose that creative flair because you wind up doing so much project management. And so I had an opportunity to start Devil Dog Marketplace with two things in mind: my passion of helping veterans, and then also being able to be the creator I was meant to be.
That's awesome. And I also just because you said it was a Hispanic paper, is that where you learned about your love for Latin dancing?
Yeah, I mean, no, actually, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I grew
Okay.
up in a very mixed environment, and there was a lot of Latins from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. And so I used to watch them, you know, when I was young, 12, 13, 14. And the little old ladies would pull me out there and they would show me how to dance. I was embarrassed, you know, but it stayed with me. And then when I went in the military, I had a couple of Latin buddies, and, you know, kind of progressed when you go out to Latin uh, clubs. And it just was so part of who I was. And when I got out, I just continued to dance. It wasn't about going to school because I already knew it was inside me. And I got a chance to, when I moved to Florida, it's a very large Hispanic population, and boy, did I get my dance on.
Yeah. That is so cool. And I mean, it's just another place where it shows that you're just truly a creative, and what I've really loved about our encounters is that you're so open and so accepting of all other cultures, and regardless of, you know, what you are, what you feel like, you just want to experience life and joy with others. And so I feel like that fits right into that.
Yeah, I mean, you love sharks, and I feel like I'm a dolphin. You know, you know how dolphin gets all excited and stuff. You know,
Yeah, I feel like that works with the dancing too. Like
yeah,
dolphins are always dancing and joyous and
sure,
happy,
sure.
work in communities. And so it makes sense why you feel like that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, you know, music and dance, you know, it really is a life lesson. Because when you're in business and you're talking to someone, it's like dancing. If I go forward, you go back. If I go back, you go forward. I go side, side. So if we're not dancing together, then what happens is you bump into each other, and it doesn't work. So I use the gift of dance in my business.
That's amazing. And I mean, it makes total sense. And there are tons of other benefits that you get from dancing.
Sure.
Um, so do you dance regularly? Is that something that you do?
Well, I did before COVID, and then I started doing Zumba because it was a little crazy. So I loved Zumba, and then recently I haven't been dancing as much, but you know, I still enjoy it though.
Yeah, because there are tons of health benefits and just mental benefits that come with music and moving around and just, you know, experiencing. There's a whole social component, right? When you go out dancing.
And it's good for your psyche. It's good for your soul. You know, when people see a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, dancing like a Latino, they go, wow, who taught him that? I have a wife and she's from Colombia. And when I first met her, they said, did you teach him that? No, he came that way.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yes.
So how did you meet your wife?
Well, I went to a Latin dance picnic, and she walked up with a Latin friend that I knew, and I said to her, "Te quiere bailar? Would you like to dance?" And she said, "Sí." So I asked her what country she was from. She said Colombia, and in Colombia, they dance. Every country has a different style, and so they do cumbia. So I was dancing cumbia with her, and she said, "Latino?" I said, "No, Latino. Judío maravilloso," which means the marvelous Jew. So she laughed, and we just connected from that time. That time on.
That's so cool. Yeah, I also, for some reason, I feel like Latinos and Jews make such good friends and partners. Like growing up, also, I grew up in New York, and most of my friends were Hispanic. And I also speak Spanish, and I also have done a lot of Latin dancing. And so, yeah, it is. It's something about the atmosphere, the warmth, having like, it be about family, it being about food, it being about being together and celebrating and joy. Like I hung out with a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and so it's all about, the even like the kids' birthdays don't end until like 3 in the morning because you're just there dancing and celebrating and just being joyous. So I totally understand that feeling of also being like the Jewish kid in the middle of like
Of this
the
Latin, excitement. It's great.
yeah, and at least for me, I could say, my grandmother's from Brazil, so like I have a little bit of it. So it
Oh,
was like,
sure.
oh yeah, so she is Latino. Her grandmother's last name was Lopez. Like, yeah, okay, it makes sense.
And if
But
you trace it back, it probably goes to another country like Spain or Portugal or something like that.
yeah, so yeah, it's always kind of been, but it really kind of makes sense, and I totally understand that feeling of just like you being like, yeah, um, yes, not really Spanish, but I'm here. I get this vibe. I like this vibe. I'm in this.
Yes, yes. And I, I enjoy teaching. So sometimes I'm at a place and I'll talk to a young lady and she's there without her husband, and I'll say, "Are you married? Yes. Is your husband dance? No." And the biggest disappointment is that their husband don't dance. So I have a friend who owns a salsa school. It's called Dance Crush. So I always recommend couples going there because he's an amazing teacher and he has a great system, and he's Boricua. He's Puerto Rican. So it's the same style that I learned, and I've had couples go there and they come back happy. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that was one of the things. I mean, I'm a big dancer and I love dancing, and my ex was Puerto Rican and he did not know how to dance. And I think one of the first, yeah, it was like, what? How is this happening right now? And it was so funny after I taught him to dance bachata that it
Ah,
was like that we would go out and people would be like, "Oh, did you teach her?" And he'd be like, "No, she taught me."
right. Yeah, and bachata is like dirty dancing. I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of one of the styles that you can really like you can learn quickly and adapt it to make it your own and make it really really fun, right? Because there's the basic steps, but then you have all this flair that you can add.
Yeah, and I tell people, I said, look, there's 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's really about mixing those steps up and then bending your knees and just go with the flow. And when I show them the 4 steps, they go, I can do that. I tell them it's like being in the military. It's about marching. It's like marching, you know. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, kick, you know. So it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are the other benefits that, dancing has brought to your life besides meeting your wife, besides, helping you, health wise?
Well, it definitely, helps my mind, my body. People say, "Oh, Michael, you're always smiling. You're always happy." And I think music and dance, um, that's if you use it right, that's what it's a great, healer. And so if you're feeling sad, put a happy song on. If you're feeling happy and you want to reminisce, because there's times when I watch a song from the past and I go, oh my God, this is pretty sad. So it can change your mood.
Yeah, it definitely can. And so do you use it kind of as like a mental boost?
Well, I know when I'm driving, it's all I listen to is Hispanic music.
Right.
So my wife enjoys it because she doesn't have to fight over the radio. So
Yeah. I hear that.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's a big part. It's a big part of my business, like I mentioned. And being that I'm very comfortable in the Hispanic world, there are clients that come to me and I'm patient, and I know enough to help them, with their creative aspirations.
Yeah. So when you realized that you were creative, right? Did you feel like, because sometimes I think people worry that being in the military will kind of stamp the creativity out of them. How do you feel that the military either enhanced your creativity, or do you think that you're a creative in spite of, you
Well,
know, the,
well, the military was is like being in a box, right? Some people like to follow rules, right? But I always painted outside the lines. So my middle name was Trouble. Even in the military, I got in trouble. So, that's why I wound up on boxing. And that's why I wound up in military police, because I needed that physicality in my life. And I always tried to add, a smile to everything I do. So imagine a smiling police officer. It's a difference. So, but as far as my business goes and and being creative, the way it started was I was in college, and like everyone, they struggle in math. I realized I'm a left-hander, so I learned that the right side of my brain is stronger, and that controls creativity, communication. And so once I learned that, I had a teacher who says, I'm going to teach one side of the class for you right brain thinkers, and I'm going to teach the other side left brain, which is more analytical. And I got an A in the class. I didn't have to work at it. It changed my thought process. So I learned that I was a visual learner. And once I learned that, everything I've done since then is about learning visually, and it works for me. Not everyone learns that way, but for me, it works.
Yeah, that also really makes sense why you would get into a business that's very visual,
Right,
right? That
right.
deals with a lot of images, a lot of design, a lot of, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And I use that visual gift when I talk to my clients, because some of them, they're left brain. You ask them to describe, what they want, or, I have to show them. It has to be, I pull the words out from them, from the right side of their brain. And I call it the gift of discernment. And it's like I'm feeling what that creative side is. I just need to pull it out. It's like being a fisherman. but it works. So at the end of the creative process, they go, wow, that's exactly what I was thinking of. But, they just couldn't put it into words. And I was able to create what's in their mind, but visually.
Yeah, I definitely understand that because there's a lot of times where, you get into a conversation with somebody, or even, when I went, when I thought about like putting the furniture in my house, and I'm also pretty visual, which is weird because I'm in a business that's not, right? Like I deal with math and numbers, and I love math and numbers, and that's kind of
Yeah,
like my
but
jam.
women use both parts of their brain. So
So
yeah.
that might be it. But like I'll go, and I remember when I'm doing, figuring things out, and like people would tell me like, I just can't see it. I just can't see it. I'm like, don't worry, you don't have to see it. Like I see it in like I know what's about to happen. Like I know how to fit this. I know how to make this work. Um, and even just this past weekend, I went with my mother-in-law. We went and we went to a jewelry making class, and there was two very distinct like types of people there. There was
Right.
me, and then everyone else,
Right.
and
You're
everyone else
you're
is like,
painting outside the lines, and they're looking how to figure out how to get the shape.
yeah, I am literally like, okay, I'm gonna take this, all of this, and all of this, and all of this, and all of this, and I'm gonna put it all in front of me. And then I'm going to figure this out as I make my necklace and as I make my earrings. And like everyone else is just like, oh, which two beads work together? And I'm like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like anything can work together.
Exactly. Whenever I do graphic design or video or website or anything I do, I have a process. So, I learned that people have a hard time knowing what they want. And so the first thing I do is they say, I need a logo. And, you could show them hundreds of logos. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what they do. So I have them fill out like a logo questionnaire. And even with that, I'll get yes, no, I don't know, and it's still struggle. But I go on there with them on Zoom, and we we find their form, their function, their color. And what I do is, it's like process elimination. We'll look at like all these different images, and I'll go, you like this one? No. You like this one? Yeah, maybe. And I put the maybes aside. And then after about 5, we go back and look at those 5. And I go, which one that you hate the most? It's easy for them. They do. They pull out the one and we keep eliminating to the one they have left. And I go, is this the one? They go, yeah. I was like, hallelujah. And it works. And then I go and I don't create exactly that, but I go and I create, something that's in the same design family.
Yeah, something that feels like it, but
Right,
it's not.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was also like a process for me. I remember when I was doing my logos for Financial Sharktris, um, it was like it went through a couple of iterations, and I am like a little more particular. I was like, I want the shark to have lashes. Like it
That's,
has to,
that's funny.
like I have my like little things where I was like that. But yeah, you definitely, it helps seeing options and then being able to like say, oh, I like the feeling of that one. I like this about this, and putting it all together.
Right. And I think sometimes when it comes to creative process, people are afraid to make a mistake. They think they're going to be wrong. And so, I said, there is no wrong. Just like you said with the jewelry, there is no wrong. What we got to find is what you like, but more importantly, what your customers are looking for. Because
Yeah.
of your niche market of women, having red as a color may not be a good fit for the eye of attracting the female audience. So you need to know what you like, and you need to figure out what your clientele likes,
Yeah.
and that's a process. And when I go through it with them, it's enjoyable. But sometimes I get people who are like CAD designers. You know, every inch has to be a certain way. It has to be perfect. And I'll go, this is not a computer program. Even if it's 1 centimeter off, it won't change. Nobody will see it but you. So I love when I get those people because they're afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah. I feel like I was that person when
Right.
I first back in 2015, when I was first opening up my business, my virtual CFO business before I was the Sharktress. And I designed my own website. And this was like a learning process. I did it on WordPress, and it took me so long because I would sit and like write code to move things up like a centimeter, like a millimeter, just because that I was like so particular about it. And then I was just like, what am I doing?
Well,
Why?
it's like going shopping. If you go into a big clothing area, you look at everything, you try everything on, and you come out with nothing. So, it's my wife would take me shopping. She goes, "Oh, you're a good picker." I said, I got to give her some ideas. But it really is making the process fun, and then at the end, they're generally happy. I haven't run into someone that is totally unhappy, and that's because it's something they created, not me. How can they be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because they're involved in the whole process.
Yeah.
Where sometimes I get a client that says, I can't do this. You do it for me. And I said, you know something? I'm going to be 100% wrong because this is not about me. This is about you. But
Right.
sometimes, they struggle, and I do the best I can with what they gave me. So.
Yeah. And that must be like a tough spot to be in, right? Because you're not the client. So you can't see inside their mind without some kind of process of you pulling it out.
Yes, and then at the end, they look at it and they go, I don't know if this is right. There's a lot more revisions when they can't make a decision because they know what they don't want, but knowing what they want is a challenge. So, like, I just created a website for a DJ company, and he looked at all the DJ websites, out there, and they were all with black and dark and, in nightclubs. And he goes, that's not me. So he couldn't find a website that suited his style. So I tried to just get an idea of what colors he liked first. And once I did that, I created a website with those colors. When I came back, he goes, wow, that's pretty good. So, I'm not done with it yet, but it's about 90% done. So I'm waiting for him to send me pictures, and so I can finish some things up. But those you work with what the client gives you, and you do the best you can. But the important thing is that you listen, and you're patient, and don't take anything personal because it's not about you.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that's so hard to do, right? Because it's your work. You're giving up of a little bit of yourself each time. And so, yeah, it's really hard to not take things personally. That actually reminds me of a book I've read. Um, have you heard of the Four Agreements?
No, I can't remember, but tell me. I probably heard it before.
So it is an amazing book, and it is basically the four things. So it's by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's the four things that you need to agree with for you to kind of lead a life of personal freedom and of joy. And one of those four agreements is never to take anything personally.
Right.
because everything that a person does is not about you. It is about how they are, whatever they are dealing with that day, or whatever they, a reflection of how they are feeling about themselves at that moment.
Yeah.
And it really changes the way that you interact with people in your life when you stop being like, you know, I'm, they were mean to me, so that's something wrong with me. It's like, no, they were mean to you because they were going through something that day, and that's just how they chose to interact.
Yeah. And there was a time when I had a client, she was like so mean, and she was like, very abrupt. And I said, "Are you having a bad day?" Right? Just like that. And she started crying. And I said, "I'm sorry. This is not about design anymore. Let's talk to me." And we figured it out. And it's just like when I mentor veterans, I say, look, there's three things. When you make a decision, there's three things. You got to be ready for whatever decision you make. You got to be willing, right? And you got to be able. And there's so much goes into able. One could be financial. It could be the timing in your life. It could be, maybe there's so much stress, it's not a good time. So I'll stop and say, look, you're not able right now. Let's put this on hold. Let's come back in a week or two and let's see where we are. Because I want to make sure that she's in the right frame of mind when we're doing this.
Yeah. And so what can you do to get yourself into the right frame of mind? Like,
Well,
what do
yes.
you tell your veterans to do?
Well, I have a couple of things that have helped me over the years. One, I have one book that changed my life. I wasn't a troubled kid, but I learned how to get in trouble. So I was 14 years old and went to a friend's house, and a mother was a senior citizen. She had this book, on the desk. That's when we had books. We didn't have computers. So I said, "What's that?" She says, "You can have it." So I picked it up, and it said Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I went, "What's this?" So I just started reading it, and I didn't understand one word it said. It was like in a foreign language, and it was talking about the mind and the brain and how to visualize, what you want and how to take those visions and make it happen. And I'm like, I must have read that book 6 times before I understood the first paragraph. and so, but finally I started to get it, and it changed my mindset. Now it took years, but it was the foundational thing that I needed to even get in to go to the Marine Corps, because it took away the fear, you know.
Yeah.
And then the next thing was, how we have all these coaches now. Everyone's a life coach, and everybody's using different methods. Well, like Anthony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and all these different gurus. Well, they started and got their process from Maxwell Maltz. He's the father of motivation. And so I got a chance to learn it before all these things came out. And so I don't teach it, but I use it in my life. And it helped me find the one tool that works. And it's called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, binaural beats. Have you heard of binaural beats?
No.
It's music, again, music. But under the music are subconscious positive affirmations. And I didn't believe it, and I said, no way. And I started listening to it when my kids were really small. And one of the things, it's supposed to change behavior. One of the things I hated to do was clean house. And so my wife would say, I need help. And I'm like, oh God, I hate it. So I bought this one called Mother's Helper. And I started listening to it. I said, it's not going to work, but I started listening to it. And then my 3 and 5-year-old, all of a sudden, they didn't know what I was doing. They grabbed a broom and a mop. and they start sweeping and mopping. I go, this stuff works. And I finally looked at it and I said, I found something that I can change whatever habit I have. And so I just started, adding on to my library, and it helped me with test taking and my memory and, whatever I was going through, it would help me. And I still use it today. And if anybody wants a copy, I can show them where they can get it.
Yeah. So where do you find these?
Well, they're on Amazon now, and they're not expensive. I mean, when I bought it, they were, but you can get on Amazon for maybe, I don't know, $5, and you download it onto your phone. You download it on your computer, and it's binaural beats, and you can find it on Amazon. I can send somebody the link. The link.
Yeah.
If you want it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I love that. And I take a lot of walks, and so I use so I do meditations when I walk, and I do a lot of sometimes when I'm not in the mood to do like a full on guided meditation, I will just put on like a frequency.
Right.
I'll just put on a beat or a frequency, and that will be my walking meditation for that day.
Well, I don't know if you learned this, but years ago, the movie industry used subliminal advertising to increase their sales at the movie theater counter, right? Yeah. They would show pictures of popcorn, and they'd show pictures of candy, and all of a sudden the sales went up. Well, this is what this binaural beats is like. The problem is I don't have enough calmness to sit and do meditation. I just don't. So this allows me to do it without even knowing it's there. It's almost like an air condition that's running. You hear it, but after a while you forget it's even there.
Yeah. Everyone's meditation is different. I have also found for me, deep sleep meditations are the way, and walking meditations, because it's hard for me to just sit and be still and be in my own meditation.
Right.
Occasionally I can get it done, but it's not like my preferred method. And so I feel like everyone has their own way. And I've just found that either having a guided meditation to put me to sleep, or and I do deep sleep meditations with affirmations. I love those because I think every time I wake up feeling so much better the next morning, feeling empowered and happy and ready for the day. Or I really love walking meditations because I don't have, I'm physically moving my body. And so I'm not 100% focusing on the day, the words. I'm just walking and letting it flow with me.
Yeah, and if you look at, we go to Amazon. I show you they have one for helping you sleep, and I put it on at night, and I'm gone in 4 minutes. I mean, and I get a nice sleep, So
yeah, that's so cool. And so I want to know a little bit. I want to come back a little bit to the Marine Corps and building your business for other veterans. What kind of resources, skills did you use to build your business that you learned in the military?
Well, a lot of people wait till they have the skills to do something. And my thought is do it while you're learning. So, everyone, all the young people, they're using TikTok and YouTube. And so I learned a lot of things from listening to others, and years ago it was about reading, and now it's about listening. So if I want to, like I had a client that she wanted, he wanted to contact um, clients that made less than 50, no, clients who had 50 employees or less. I'm sorry, 50 employees or less. And I go, how do you locate 50 employees or less? Nobody's going to give you all that. Is there a tool? So, I studied, I saw this AI stuff coming out, and I took a program in AI learning, and I went on AI while I was on the call, and we did the prompt, and it told me how to do it. And then I showed him in real time, and I even surprised myself. It was pretty good. So you learn by just either learning from someone else or you learn by doing. But, the information now is out there. If you want it, you could find it.
Yeah. I
And
wonder,
the Marine Corps told me that. Yeah.
now that you talked about AI, I wonder, what is your take on Chat GPT?
Well, I think like everything else, you have to embrace it. I don't think there's something to be afraid of. There's going to be an evolution of legalities and ethics. I'll let somebody else deal with it. Right now, I'm just using it and having fun. You know what I mean? It's a lot of people are afraid that it's going to, you know, I don't know, do things that will hurt people. And everything, I don't care what it is, it has the potential to do that. But I look at it from an optimistic point of view. Um, there are going to be, they're using it today. They're imitating other people's voices on phone calls, and they're scamming, families, thinking that maybe the son in college, needs money, and they're doing all kind of negative things. But I'll let the government take care of that, and I'll just enjoy learning and how to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And everybody's worried about their job. And, like in graphic design, I mean, now you can do things graphically. Well, I thought about it and I said, how can I use AI and help my clients? Well, most clients will say, I can design that myself with AI, save the money. Yes, but AI right now only gives you a flat image. Most companies need the vector files, the source files. You know that. And so that they don't do that. So I say, look, design it yourself, bring it to me, and then I'll recreate and give you all the source files. So I'm not worried about what he can do. I'm focusing on what he can. And then you work around it and you make an opportunity what it is based on your creativity.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great way to look at it, because I use ChatGPT and lots of things, like, for all different things, and I feel like as long as you're like supervising it and you're using it for good, right? Because like, obviously I'm the expert, right? Like in my field, I'm the expert in what I want to say. I'm the expert in that. But if it can help me rewrite an email to make it sound better, why wouldn't I use that?
Yes.
You know?
And you know how you have your favorite poet? I have my favorite poets. You have your favorite, um, you know, uh, business professional. Their sales training, and you can actually ask AI to sound and act like, and so you'll get the same style, and it really helps you, being better. It really does. I don't want to plagiarize. I don't want to, copy, but I'm learning someone else's style and I'm using the AI to do it.
Yeah, I use it to sound like me. I have so many hours of me out there, all this content that I've made, and all these lives that I've done. Sometimes I'm just like, make it sound like me. Like,
Well, well, right now I'm going to sound like you. I'm going to sound like you on video now. Yeah, because I do what they call AI videos, and I'm using AI generated actors and actresses, and I write the scripts with AI, and I'm able to produce a video, and now it's not there yet 100%, but it looks pretty good.
That's really, really cool. Well, we are nearing the end of the podcast, and I want to let people know how to reach you. So how do they get in touch with you, and what kind of people are you looking to meet?
Well, my business is twofold. I work with veteran-owned businesses, and then I also work with my competition. My competitions hire me to help them with additional things that they don't want to hire a W-2 employee or outsource to some other country. So a great introduction for me would be an agency that would like me to be part of their team on a per job basis. So they, not only do I give them a wholesale price, but they're able to create their own margin. So it's a win-win situation for both of us.
Yeah. And how do they contact you?
They contact me by going to devilDogMarketplace.com, devilDogMarketplace.com, or call me at 561-201-6021. And if you want to hear a voice that's made for radio, don't call me. No, I'm teasing.
Let me put that actually in. I'll put because I put your the links that you put into the comments already. I'm gonna put your phone number as well. You're okay with people just like giving out your phone number over the internet and people giving you a call?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I never. I'm like, I have my phone on do not disturb on the hours I don't want to be disturbed.
Well, I can always block them. I have a really great app, so.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here, Michael. I really, really appreciate it. And this was so much fun.
Yes. So if you ever need a podcast partner, please ask.
I'll keep it in mind. I've always got some more wheels turning, and honestly, I really enjoy doing this. And for me, the part I don't enjoy, which is the part I just don't do, is edit.
Right. Yeah. So, I say, we dance pretty good together. So let's keep it going.
All right.
Okay.
We'll keep this, we'll keep talking about it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this now or on the replay, please make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you liked. Reach out to Michael. He's an awesome contact. And make sure that you tune in and binge watch more episodes of the Galit Speaks podcast. And I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye, everyone.
All right.